Welcome to our deep dive today.
Okay.
We're going to be exploring cybersecurity in healthcare, specifically looking at the role of nurse informaticists.
Right.
And, these days everyone's worried about their medical records being hacked,
Yeah.
which is a valid concern.
Mm-hmm.
But did you know that a simple phishing attack
Oh, yeah.
can actually lock a hospital out of its own systems
It's happened.
for weeks,
Yeah.
disrupting patient care?
It's happened. Yeah. It's a huge problem.
So today we're going to dive into how these informaticists are basically the special forces of data protection,
Right.
blending their clinical know-how with IT savvy.
They really are. They're kind of like the unsung heroes.
Right.
You don't really think about them.
Yeah.
But they're there working behind the scenes,
Yeah.
protecting all of our data.
Okay, so let's start with the basics.
Okay.
What exactly is a nurse informaticist?
Well, basically, they are the bridge
Okay.
between patient care and the digital world. They have this really unique skill set.
Uh-huh.
They have to understand things like high-pay compliance,
Right.
data encryption.
Right.
They're the ones training staff, monitoring systems.
Yeah.
It's a really big job.
Yeah, it sounds like they wear a lot of hats.
They do.
So we all know high pay is the law
Right.
that's supposed to protect our sensitive health information.
Uh-huh.
But how does that actually play out in a hospital setting?
Well, think about it this way.
Okay.
Every time you go to the doctor,
Yeah,
all of your information is being entered into a computer system.
right.
High-P sets the rules
Okay.
for how that information
Yeah.
can be collected,
Oh.
used, and shared.
Right, so how does encryption fit into all of this?
Encryption is one of the key ways
Okay.
that we protect that data.
Okay.
Basically, it scrambles the data,
Uh-huh.
making it unreadable
Okay.
to anyone who doesn't have the key.
So even if a hacker gets in,
Right.
they can't actually read anything?
Exactly. It's like a digital lock and key system.
Makes sense. And what about access controls?
Access controls are another really important layer
Okay.
of protection. Basically, they make sure
Uh-huh.
that only the right people
Okay.
have access to the right information.
Okay.
So, for example, your doctor
Right.
would have access to your medical records,
Okay.
but the receptionist
Yeah.
wouldn't.
And the nurse informaticists are the ones who are setting all this up.
They are. They're the ones who are making sure that those systems are in place.
That must be a huge task.
It is.
Yeah.
And they also have to make sure that everyone in the hospital understands the importance
Right.
of following these rules.
I think we often forget that cybersecurity isn't just about technology.
Right.
It's about people, too.
It is.
Yeah.
And that's something that nurse informaticists are really good at.
Yeah.
They understand both sides,
Okay.
the clinical side
Yeah.
and the technical side.
So I'm starting to see how crucial they are, but what are some of the specific challenges they face?
Well, one of the biggest challenges is human error.
Human error. You mean like someone accidentally clicking on a phishing email?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or leaving their laptop unlocked.
Wow.
Or even just writing down their password
Uh-huh.
on a sticky note. It seems simple,
Right.
but it can have really serious consequences.
Especially in a hospital setting.
Right. One wrong click could compromise the entire system.
It's a lot of pressure on them then
It is.
to make sure that everybody is following the rules.
It is. But they're up to the challenge.
Well, before we go any further,
Okay.
I think we need to talk about what happens when things go wrong.
Okay.
We'll dive into that right after the break.
Sounds good.
Welcome back to our deep dive on healthcare cybersecurity
Right.
and the crucial role of nurse informaticists.
Wow.
We were just talking about
Yeah.
how even a little mistake
Uh-huh.
can have really serious consequences. So what happens when things go wrong?
Well, that's when downtime readiness comes in.
Downtime readiness.
Yeah. It's basically having a plan
Okay.
for when the technology fails.
So like when the computers crash?
Yeah. Or if there's a power outage
Oh, God.
or a cyber attack, anything that takes the systems offline,
That sounds like a nightmare.
it can be. Imagine a hospital
Yeah.
where no one can access patient records.
Oh, wow.
Medications can't be ordered.
Gosh.
It can be pretty chaotic.
So what do nurse informaticists do in a situation like that?
Well, they're the ones who create those downtime procedures.
Okay.
They make sure that there are backup systems in place
Okay.
so that even if the computers are down, the hospital can still function.
So it's like having a plan B.
Exactly. And they train the staff
Okay.
on how to use those backup systems.
So even if they're used to working with computers all the time,
Right.
they know what to do
Exactly.
if the technology fails.
That's the goal. And they also create those quick reference guides.
Oh, right, like the badge buddies?
Yeah, exactly. So that even in a high-pressure situation,
Right.
staff can quickly access the information they need.
Okay, so what kinds of things are on those badge buddies?
It depends on a hospital.
Okay.
But they usually have things like key contact information,
Okay.
step-by-step instructions for
Okay.
common procedures,
Okay.
and even dosages for common medications.
So even if they can't access the computer system, they
Right.
still have that vital information at their fingertips.
Exactly. It's all about minimizing the impact on
Mhm.
patient care.
I never really thought about it that way before.
Yeah, a lot of people don't.
It makes sense.
It's one of those things you don't really think about
Right.
until something goes wrong.
But it's reassuring to know
It is.
that there are people like nurse informaticists
Absolutely.
who are thinking about these things and preparing for them.
They're the ones who are keeping us safe.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about the role of nurse informaticists.
Yeah.
But what about the patients? What can WE do
That's a great question.
to protect our own data?
Yeah. Because ultimately, cybersecurity is everyone's responsibility.
Okay, so where do we even begin?
Well, a good place to start is with awareness. Understanding how these attacks happen and what tactics cybercriminals use
Okay.
can help you spot potential threats.
All right, so awareness first. What does that look like in practice?
Well, think about those phishing emails we talked about earlier.
Sure.
They're often the first step in a cyber attack.
Okay.
Learning to identify the red flags
Okay.
can help you avoid falling victim.
So what are some of those red flags?
Well, look out for things like suspicious sender addresses,
Right.
urgent or threatening language,
Right.
requests for personal information.
Okay, so if you get an email,
Right.
that just seems a little bit off.
Yeah.
Don't click on anything.
Exactly. And never, ever give out sensitive information
Okay.
like your social security number
Right.
or your bank account details in response to an unsolicited email or phone call.
That seems obvious, but I'm sure people still fall for it.
They do.
Yeah.
It's really important to be vigilant.
So what else can we do?
Another big one is strong passwords.
Oh, yeah. I'm terrible at remembering passwords.
I know it can be tough,
Yeah.
but using the same password for multiple accounts
Yeah.
or choosing easy-to-guess passwords
Yeah.
like password 123.
Yeah.
It's basically like leaving the door to your digital life wide open.
Makes sense. So what do you recommend?
Well, there are tools like password managers
Okay.
that can help you generate
Okay.
and store strong passwords.
I've heard of those, but I've never actually used one.
You should definitely check them out.
Okay, I will. So strong passwords and being cautious about phishing emails.
Right.
What else?
Being mindful of what you share online
Oh.
is another crucial step.
So like on social media.
Yeah. Think twice before posting personal information,
Okay.
especially details like your birth date,
Right.
your address, or your phone number.
I guess that makes sense. Hackers could use that information
They could.
to target you with phishing attacks
Exactly.
or even identity theft.
It's all about minimizing your digital footprint.
I never thought about it that way, but it makes sense.
Yeah, the less information you share online,
Right.
the less there is for hackers to exploit.
So we've covered phishing emails, strong passwords, and being mindful of our online presence. Is there anything else we can do?
One more thing. Keep your software up to date.
Ugh, those annoying updates.
I know they can be a pain,
Yeah.
but they often include important security patches
Oh, okay.
that fix vulnerabilities that hackers could use to get into your system.
So those updates aren't just about getting the latest features.
Right.
They're actually about security.
Exactly. Think of it like locking your doors and windows.
Okay.
Software updates are like reinforcing those locks.
Makes sense. So we need to keep our computers up to date.
And your phone.
And our phones.
And your tablets.
And
these smart home devices.
basically anything that connects to the internet.
Pretty much.
That's a lot to keep track of.
It is. But it's worth it
Yeah.
to protect your data.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about protecting our own data, but I'm curious about the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Where is all of this headed? What does the future of cybersecurity look like,
That's a great question.
especially in healthcare?
And one that I don't think anyone has a definitive answer to.
But let's speculate a little. We'll dive into that right after the break.
Okay.
Welcome back to our deep dive exploring the future of healthcare cybersecurity.
It's a big question.
Yeah, a lot to unpack there.
It really is.
So where do we even start with something like this?
Well, one trend that's really got people talking
Okay.
is the rise of artificial intelligence, or AI.
AI. I thought that was supposed to make things easier.
Well, it can,
Right.
but it's a powerful tool.
Right.
And like any tool, it can be used for good or bad.
So how are hackers using AI?
They're using it to develop more sophisticated malware.
Oh.
Malware that can actually learn and adapt.
like some kind of super virus.
Yeah, it's pretty unsettling.
So how do we even fight something like that?
Well, the good news is
Okay.
cybersecurity professionals are also using AI to develop better defenses.
So it's like an AI arms race.
Exactly.
That's kind of terrifying.
It is, but it's also really exciting.
Exciting.
Because it's pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
Okay.
And it's forcing us to think outside the box.
Makes sense. So where do nurse informaticists fit into all of this?
They're right there in the middle of it all.
Okay.
Learning about these new technologies, developing strategies to mitigate the risks.
So they're not just keeping up with the latest trends.
Right.
They're actually shaping the future.
Absolutely. They're the ones who are going to bridge that gap between the clinical world and the digital world.
So it sounds like they need a really diverse skill set.
They do. It's not just about technical knowledge anymore. They need to be critical thinkers, problem solvers, excellent communicators, and most importantly, they need to be lifelong learners.
Wow. It's a tall order.
It is. But they're up to the challenge.
Well, I have to say, this whole conversation has really opened my eyes.
I'm glad.
To the importance of nurse informaticists.
They really are the unsung hero.
Yeah, they are. So to wrap things up, I think the biggest takeaway for me is that cybersecurity is not just about technology.
Right.
It's about people.
It is.
And it's about protecting patients,
absolutely,
families, and communities.
It's everyone's responsibility.
Well said. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
And remember, stay vigilant, stay informed,
and stay safe.
We'll see you next time for another fascinating exploration of the world around us.